The rapper posted on Twitter just yesterday afternoon, having strong enemies is a blessing. Just 30 minutes later, he was shot.
Murder of rapper Nipsey Hussle is expected to make his first appearance in front of a judge this week.
60 years to life in prison. This coming here on this Wednesday out of Los Angeles.
There's a lot of lies and deception in regards to how many times Nipsey was shot, where did the bullet wounds go.
Diagram 20, which are images of the autopsy, expresses coroner Lawrence is basically making statements of in court. And he had found that Nipsey Hussle did die as a result to the gunshot wounds. And Nipsey Hussle suffered from 11 gunshot wounds.
Highly respected and beloved LA rapper Amadeus Oskardam, aka Nipsey Hussle, died from gunshot wounds to the head and torso, per coroner reports announced the Monday after Nip was killed. Nip was fatally shot Sunday, March the 31st of 2019 in the 3400 block of West Lawson Avenue in Los Angeles.
Again, a look view from the drone above this crowd at the corner of Crenshaw and Slauson. They have shut down this intersection, so if you have any business other than wanting to come over here and pay your respects, I suggest you stay away from the area. They are not letting cars anywhere near here. It is a long, long walk. There's a very strong police presence. Back now on the ground. Now, it's so ironic that Hussle was supposed to meet today with the chief and the president of the police commission, Mr. Steve Soboroff. That meeting was scheduled for 4 o'clock in the chief's office. The subject was how to curtail gang activity in South Los Angeles. Hussle wanted to do some good. That meeting was postponed because his family members want to attend, so that was put off for a couple of weeks. Again, tomorrow morning, the chief is supposed to address many issues. They are actively looking for whoever may have done this. Maybe he'll have an announcement, maybe not. But at 8:30, we should know more about where this investigation stands.
An autopsy performed that Monday determined Nip was shot in the head and torso, according to the Los Angeles County Department of Medical Examiner Coroner's Office. The manner of death was officially ruled a homicide. By definition, a homicide is the killing of one human being by another. Homicide is a general term and may refer to a non-criminal act as well as the criminal act of murder. Some homicides are considered justifiable, such as the killing of a person to prevent the commission of a serious felony or to aid a representative of the law. Other homicides are said to be excusable, as when a person kills in self-defense. A criminal homicide is one that is not regarded by the applicable criminal code as justifiable or excusable. All legal systems make important distinctions between different types of homicide, and punishments vary greatly according to the intent of the killer, the dangerousness of the killer's conduct, and the circumstances of the criminal act.
Homicide is the intentional killing of a human being. The reason why it has been so defined is because there are exceptions with respect to fetuses and birth, and when there is, or when a child or a fetus is considered an actual human being or is actually viable. You cannot commit a homicide, for instance, against a dog. Now, there are crimes related to the abuse of animals and the killing of animals, but homicide would not be one crime that you could be charged with. If you have been charged with homicide, or if you believe that you may be charged with homicide, or if officers are wishing to question you in connection with the homicide, you should immediately seek counsel and refrain from speaking to the investigators.
According to Los Angeles County's Coroner's Office legal documents, Nip's official autopsy report outlined the injuries sustained during his murder. The report includes specifics about suffering multiple gunshot wounds and the location of each one. Shockingly, Nip suffered 11 gunshot wounds, not the 10 as news reports suggested on the day of his murder.
Some breaking news to tell you about out of the entertainment world. Rapper Nipsey Hussle was shot. 2 others were hurt in a shooting here in LA. This is a live picture where you can see fans gathered outside a store owned by the artist. The shooting was reported around 3:20 p.m. That's LA time in the Hyde Park section of the city of Los Angeles. Hussle apparently opened the Marathon Clothing Company store in June of 2017. We want to let you know that there is a news conference that is scheduled to tell us more about what happened.
What may surprise many is that Nip was pronounced dead a full 35 minutes after the shooting that had taken place outside of his clothing store. What that means is that Nip was actually fighting, trying to hang on. He didn't just give up, as so many do when they have sustained the same number of gunshot wounds as Nip did. An autopsy is a post-mortem examination to discover the cause of death. An autopsy report contains scientific observations of a deceased person's body. Included in an autopsy report are the identity of the deceased person, the cause of death, and the time since death.
The thing about autopsy reports in general is they are extremely valuable and helpful when it comes to learning medicine for two real main reasons. One is that as the years go by, they're becoming less common. And the other thing is that they provide a lot of information that we otherwise wouldn't have access to in someone who is living.
Substances in the body, i.e. toxicology report that shows whether the person had any substances in their body that may have led to any impairment.
Toxicology specializes in the testing of bodily fluids and tissues in 5 areas: alcohol, drugs, carbon monoxide, poisons, and volatiles.
Autopsy reports also help investigators determine the position of the deceased when they were fatally injured. For example, the trajectory of a bullet can show whether the person was facing front to back or left to right.
An autopsy is done to determine the cause of death. It's done to find out how a person died. If it was a heart attack, a stroke, if it was cancer, ultimately it's to find out how a person dies.
Nip's autopsy was performed on April the 1st of 2019. Found in his autopsy were gunshot wound 1, a single shot to the head, only entered into the scalp, did not go into the skull or brain. Gunshot wound number 2, entered through the left armpit and exited through the left shoulder. The gunshot fractured the upper portion of arm bone but did not reach any internal organs. Gunshot wound number 3, penetrated through the right side of the back, striking the lung. Gunshot wound number 4, entered at the right side of the lower chest, puncturing the lung, and again exited the right side of the back through the right shoulder. Gunshot wound number 5, entered the abdomen, damaging the liver and right lung, lodging into the spine, severing the spinal cord. Gunshot wound number 6, penetrated through the right thigh, entering the pelvic area. The bullet was ultimately recovered. Gunshot wound number 7, penetrated the left thigh, entering the pelvic area. This bullet was also recovered. Gunshot wound number 8, entered the outside of the right side, also entering the pelvic area. That bullet was also recovered. Gunshot wound number 9, grazed and exited the left butt cheek. Gunshot wound number 10, entered through the right toe, lodging itself in the heel. The bullet was also recovered. Gunshot wound number 11 was a graze wound that entered and affected the left elbow. The report, which was undertaken a day after Nip's death, indicated that Nip was in good health when he died. The doctor performing the autopsy concluded that Nip died as a result of the gunshot wound to the head and torso, and notes that his death would have been rapid had Nip not been fighting to hold on. The doctor would also go on to report that had Nip survived the shooting, he would have been a paraplegic.
Before someone shot and killed Nipsey Hussle, he left this message on Twitter: "Having strong enemies is a blessing."
I just don't know.
Cherokee Christopher spent minutes with the rapper in October.
I used to sell my CDs and my music out my trunk.
That's Nipsey in St. Paul, speaking on a panel during a conference that focused on blacks in technology. The Grammy-nominated artist used his fame to push youth toward tech skills
and, owning your home territory
and entrepreneurship. One of his latest business ventures was a cohort with an entire floor dedicated to teaching STEM to students in South LA.
I looked at him and I kind of see myself. It wasn't gangs or none of that. It was just I see a black man, with a past, whatever the case may be, and he's talking about investing. He's talking about all this stuff. You would look at him and you wouldn't even expect for him to speak on any of these things.
He was a big motivation to us young men, and to inspire us to do something big and achieve our goals and do whatever we want that's on our mind.
The rapper was shot and killed outside a clothing store he owned in Crenshaw. The storefront, a symbol of his life's mission.
Investing, that's owning. That's what builds families and communities, investing. So that's why he really pushed that, and that was big on us. That's important because that could be handed down from generations.
Because he bit my finger so. Which finger did he bite?
Nipsey's message about entrepreneurship resonated with Christopher, a 21-year-old father.
He was really changing the community, and that's what I plan on doing with my wealth and, you know, with me grinding every day, trying to open up my restaurant.
Nipsey's first passion was music, which inspired Christopher's friend, Daquan Chapman.
It wasn't just talking about
gangs and violence. It was talking about
violence.
Stopping the gang violence.
More than violence. It was more than anything.
Owning stuff. He wasn't talking about jewelry and all that stuff. He was really talking about, he was a conscious rapper, you know what I'm saying? A conscious rapper that's really
trying to put something in your head to listen to, instead of just all these other little music that's going around.
That's killing us.
Today, the man who shot and killed South LA's Nipsey Hussle was found guilty of first-degree murder. The verdict is a win for the late rapper's family, his fans, and a community that he gave back to.
Marla Tejas is here with a look back at Hussle's legacy. We covered that extensively here.
We did, and we really got a behind-the-scenes moment with him. Nipsey Hussle's life was cut far too short at just 33 years old, but in those 3 decades, Hussle lived life to the fullest, paying it forward much of the way.
You actually own half of this lot.
Yeah, me and my family.
Not long before his death, Nipsey Hussle stood with former Fox 11 reporter Leah Uko in the very parking lot where he'd later be gunned down, just outside his Marathon clothing store in South LA at the now infamous corner of Slauson Avenue and Crenshaw Boulevard.
My career started right here.
The award-winning rapper gave our team a rare inside look at where he got his start and how he turned his success into the communities. A father of 2, a Grammy winner, and a successful entrepreneur. Hussle's business break came when he created his own clothing label, The Marathon. The brick-and-mortar store, the site of his murder, is now closed, but thrives online. Hussle, ahead of his time. Here's his thoughts on going digital.
We playing a long game. We don't want the money to stop when we go. When we can't work no more, we want it to outlive us. We want it to be generational.
For the kids of South LA, he hired a local artist to help spruce up this basketball court at an elementary school. And for the grown-ups, Hussle launched Vector 90, a co-working space in the Crenshaw district. It's still going strong, with its website noting the marathon continues.
I get a lot of the credit. I'm in the front, but I got a ton of great people on the team with me.
Even with his massive success, Hussle remained humble, appearing with Alex Michelson on Good Day LA, an appearance that would be his last. The 33-year-old couldn't help but turn our praise into his thanks to the community.
My mixtapes, my music, my early music was purchased hand-to-hand by the same people in the area that might play on them courts, so kids go to that school. You know, you're gonna make moves off what's in your heart.
I mentioned Hussle's Marathon store in South LA is closed, but another one just opened. This newest one is in Canoga Park. It's called the Marathon Collective, and it officially opened just a couple of weeks ago in June. And it, of course, is another sign that Hussle's legacy lives on.